We read in the portion of Noach. Ela told us Noach. These are either the children of Noach or the chronicles of Noach. Noach is tzaddik. Noach was a man who was devoutly righteous, tomim, perfect, hoyim chol derosa, in all his generations. Es Elokim, es alech Noach. Together with God, Noach walked. So there's a famous Gemara which is cited by Rashi. The Torah tells us he was tzaddik b'dorosov, in his generations. Yeshmer, I was saying, Dosha was on the Shebach. There are those who interpret this in a praiseworthy context, that despite the fact that there were such negative influences of his generations, he was a tzaddik. Kol shkem shelo yador shel tzaddik or tzaddik yoser. If he would have lived in the generation of other devoutly righteous people, he would have even a greater tzaddik. Yeshadosha shel gnai. Others interpret it negatively, critically. V'yishadoro hoya tzaddik. He was a tzaddik relative to his generation. V'lohoya b'dor shel Avram lohoya nechshav l'klum. If he would have been in the generation of Avram, and Avram was in the generation which was totally devoid of God's presence, and we say if he would have lived in Avram's generations, it's not he would have been considered less of a tzaddik. Lohoya nechshav l'klum. He would have been considered nothing to that degree. He would have been minimized to nothing. So that's a very strong negative characterization of what his essence was. It's only relative to that, his own generations, which were evil, he was tzaddik, relatively speaking. So the question is this. Factually, we're not arguing on the fact. Both opinions, whether you interpret it positively or negatively, they both agree that here in a generation of evil, he was made able to maintain a semblance of righteousness. There's no question if he would have had a support system, he would have even been more righteous. Nobody argues that. Everybody agrees that if you pit him based on his present position of righteousness versus Avram, he'd be considered nothing. So we all agree on fact. So if I'm able to interpret the Torah that what it's communicating to me is something positive, why should I say the Torah is communicating something negative? So evidently, the one who says that the Torah is indicating something negative, he has something to base it upon. What does he have to base it upon? The Dorosa. Factually, we say factually, everybody agrees to the same fact. If he would have been in a generation that was more conducive to spirituality, he would have been a greater tzaddik. And based on his present status compared to Abraham, he's nothing. So what is the Torah emphasizing? Despite his generations, he was a tzaddik even at that minimal level. Or if we pit him against Avram, he'd be considered nothing. So one opinion says he's considered nothing. Why? Factually, Noach failed. Noach did not succeed. So if Noach failed, so that immediately puts a negative light on Noach from the very beginning. Noach was given a mission, and he was only given the mission to save the generation, save the world, if actually he had the ability to succeed. If there wasn't a chance to succeed, how's he faulted for failing? So evidently it was within his capacity to succeed. So why didn't he succeed? Evidently, he did not. What was the exact detail of the failing? Chazal don't reveal that. The Gemara doesn't reveal that. But he failed. He could have, if he would have applied himself, interacted at a different level, maybe if he would have had greater faith and belief, maybe he would have. Now there's a famous conversation between a person with the Chofetz Chaim in Yiddish, the two words, I will do, to say I will do, ich will tun. That's how you say I will do in Yiddish. To accomplish, you would say, ich will uftun, I will accomplish. So this person comes to the Chofetz Chaim and says, I'm going to accomplish this in Yiddish. I'm going to accomplish this. So the Chofetz Chaim says to the person, look, all we can do is do. Whether we succeed or don't succeed, that's up to God. Success is not up to you. We can take initiative. If take the initiative, what's going to be the outgrowth of that initiative? Only God knows. If God wants you to succeed, you're going to succeed. If He doesn't want, it's going to stay exactly where it was. So, Noach, even though he was a tzaddik, to be able to succeed, to have a presence, to be able to impact on a person, you have to have a siyata d'shmaya. That siyat, that divine assistance, is based on your own belief. For instance, we find later that God says to Noach, "Kates kobosa b'lefonai, the end of all flesh has come before me. Go into the ark. Go into the ark. You, your sons, your wife, and your daughters-in-law." And then the Torah tells us, when did Noach go into the ark? Mivnei me'amabu. Only he was forced in because of the floodwaters. So Rashi cites Chazal, Mikatni Emona Hoya Noach. He was from the small believers. Why? Because it wasn't enough to go into the ark when God says the end of all life has come before me. He had to be forced in with the floodwaters to go into the ark. God says it's over. So why did he go in? He didn't believe it was going to happen until he saw it was reality. Why? It wasn't enough for God telling you it's going to happen. So there, what could be said, and we've said this in the past, that if you must go in because the floodwaters are here, before the floodwaters, that means God is saying to Noach, you failed. You know what it means to say you failed? Failed means all humanity, all existence is going to be destroyed because you failed. How does a person swallow that pill? Humanly, consciously, it's nearly impossible. It's enough to choke on. You can't get it down. But so therefore, he couldn't accept it. Of course, it's volumes on who he's not, who he thought he was. And God says you had the ability to be that. So why weren't you that? Doesn't make a difference why weren't you, but go in now. Because you are the one who has found favor in my eyes, tzaddik of that, therefore you will survive with your family. But everything else is going to be destroyed. And therefore we find that the floodwaters of the great flood is referred to as Mei Noach. They're the waters of Noach. They're the floodwaters which came about because Noach failed. So when did he finally go in? When he had no choice. But if that's the case, he's caught the Amana. Because he should have been at a level that his faith should have dictated to go in without visually seeing it. That's what should have happened. So therefore, if he failed, when the Torah is giving us the whole narrative about Noach, he's Tzadikoy B'Dorosov. He was chosen because he had the ability. He had the potential. And he was a tzaddik relative to his generation. But despite the fact relative to his generation, he was a tzaddik. He could have succeeded. Despite the fact that if he would have been pitted against Avram, he would have been considered nothing. But factually, he was given the what? The charge to make a difference. That means even at that minimal level, he could have made the difference. Which tells us volumes. Even though we're interpreting it negatively, it says something very positive. Despite that, he could have succeeded. We read in Pirkei Avos, Mokum Sheni Sham Teish, that if there's no person of caliber to assume a certain level of responsibility, although you may not be the one who's truly qualified, you have to put yourself forth. If you could make the difference, there was nobody else to make the difference. At the minimal level, it's B'do Rosov. If you pit him against Avram Avinu, Lo Yanechshav L'Klum, he'd be considered nothing. Despite that, God says, you have within your capacity to merit a siyata d'shmaya, a divine assistance to succeed. Actually, you failed. That means He did not have sufficient merit to draw on that divine assistance to succeed. Many years ago, I interacted with a certain person, going back 30 years ago, and this person was one of the top Wall Street people. He's a professed atheist, and he wanted to spar with me regarding belief in God, faith, all these issues. So we spent about an hour and a half discussing it, and it was a pretty intense back and forth. So he goes, so what do you think? When I got back, what do you think? Do you think he's going to be interested in continuing the conversation? So what I said was, when it comes to influence a person, especially regarding his emunah and bitachon, his belief and his faith, things which touch upon his soul, his destiny in the world to come, firstly, the person to be influenced has to have a merit, has to have a schus. And even if he has the schus, the one who's meant to influence him also has to have a schus. Because to bring that kind of person back, you need a tremendous schus. It's not enough that one party has the schus, both parties have the schus. Initially, Noach could have had the schus. He had the wherewithal because God says, I choose you to be the one. I give you a 120-year project, build the ark. That should be the focal point of existence. Although pitted against Avram, you'd be considered nothing. So you could say, what do we have to look at the negative? What do we have to look at his warts? Let's look at he was chosen. Because the end of the story is, because this, right at this moment, we're talking about his failure. So if we're going down the route of his failure, why didn't he succeed? Evidently, there's a negative slant on the whole narrative over here. If there's negative slant, that's what's Doshel Gnai. Therefore, the interpretation is negative, not positive. Because otherwise, it's not really, the symmetry doesn't fit. We start off, he's ultimate, he's great, and despite his grace, he failed. Seemingly, if factually, he'd be considered nothing compared to Avraham Avinu, it would make more sense to say, the other opinion is, that the Torah is pointing out his limited status, spiritual status. And because of that, that's why he truly failed. That's the understanding. The Rechaim Koresh cites a medrash in Dvarim the medrash says, Noach omer Moshe. Noach said to Moshe Rabbeinu, Ani godel mimcha, I'm greater than you. Moshe omer, Ato hitzalta atzmo, lo yeh b'cho koach latzil es dorocha. Why? He says, I'm greater than you because I survived the great flood and the whole world comes from me. He says, no. You saved yourself, but you're going to save your generation. You failed. And that's what it means. Ilu told us Noach. These are the chronicles of Noach on a very personal level. He did not impact, in effect, the members of his generation, and his merit wasn't sufficient only to cover himself, not to impact on the members of his generation. And his children were only saved because the children are an extension of himself. But anybody outside of himself, he did not have that capacity to bring that about. We read in Pirkei Avos, Asora Doros min Noach and Avram. The 10 generations from Noach to Avram. Lodia, although they were sinners, they were idolaters, they were evil. Lodia kama erech hapayim lefonov. to see to what degree God is tolerant and patient. All these generations, they enraged God, but yet despite that, and they defied him, they continued. Avram came, and he received reward for all if they would have been righteous, he received their reward. So you can imagine what he received. That means 10 generations of humanity, what could have been theirs, was transferred into his account. Their potential. So over here, Rabbeinu Yonah explains. All the generations, they angered God, they enraged God until Avram Avinu came on the scene. It doesn't say until he punched them, which happened with Noah. There were 10 generations from Adam to Noach, who enraged him, and he punished them. Meaning what all the deficiencies of existence, God created the world for a purpose. What happens if the world doesn't meet that purpose? And it's not meant to meet that purpose. It says, I'm not funding this operation. I'm going further. But what about if you have one person who's special, and though everyone else fails, but the enterprise, God's enterprise, is worthwhile because the tzaddik, he's able to meet the demand, what God expected. Avram Avinu was great enough that whatever the special deficiencies the world had, which the people, members of all those generations, should have addressed, he was able to address them independent of them. If that's the case, it's worthwhile to keep the world going. So this is Kibel Schar Keneged Kulam. Why did he receive reward, which is equivalent of all of them? Because Milei Chesronoso, the deficiency of his existence, what the world had to be brought to the level, he infused it with that spiritual nourishment to bring it to that level. And as a result of that, he saved them from destruction. But Noach wasn't able to do this. He wasn't a sufficient tzaddik to be able to fill in the deficiencies of existence. Therefore, he didn't receive the reward for them. If he would have received reward, that's an indication that he covered whatever they were supposed to cover. Every human being has a share in a potential to receive a special place in the world to come. And God forbid, if you fail, a special place in Gehenna. So it's waiting. What releases that reward? You have to address certain things. So therefore, Avram, who addressed what they were supposed to address, that reward shifts into Avram's account for that reason. So, if Noach was given that mission, that means, in his own right, it's very interesting, in his own right, he couldn't fill in the deficiencies. But he could have brought them back. Two different things. As an individual, he wasn't that individual. He wasn't the multi-dimensional, global individual. Avram was global. And because he was global, therefore he was able to make up for where they failed. Noach was not that. So what was his mission? The mission was not to make up where they failed, to bring them back, that they should cover their own bases. They should succeed in their own right. I'm just thinking, while I'm speaking, Avram mentioned the past name of the Maral. At the time of creation, it says Behi Baram. Behi Baram. So the Medrash says the letters of when he created them are the same letters of Avraham. Avraham. So Maral of Prague says in the Puras Hashem that just as creation was ex nihilo, that prior to creation nothing existed, when Avram came on the scene and became Avraham, that representation of person never preceded himself. That was a new creation. New creation. And as a result of that, he's the founding father of what? Of Klal Yisrael, the Jewish people. The world was created for them. So initially, when the world was created, that entity did not exist. Avram came into being through his own initiatives, through his choices. But what was proof of the pudding? That he had that capacity. Mili Chesrona. Because he received reward for all the 10 generations which they failed. That means he as one individual, he was the equivalent of all existence. He was the all existence person. Now maybe we're able to understand. So who is Avram? Avram is the Olam Mole. He is the one person who's the equivalent of all existence. Because what all existence was meant to address, he has one individual addressed all the deficiency of existence, that he was able to fill in the gaps. Therefore, it's Kibbutz Kar Kulam. Noach, there was never a consideration that he was that person. But Kiruv wise, bringing his generation back, that he could do, that he failed. So if he fails, it's Mei Noach. Therefore, the Dorosov is Dorshel Ganai. That position, he interprets it negatively, as a criticism of Noach, not to give him any degree of acclaim. It's an interesting midrash. The Gemara tells us, everything's predestined except fear of God. Whether a person is going to be healthy or infirm or sickly, it's predestined. Chacham tipesh, wise or foolish, predestined. Wealthy, poor, predestined. Giber cholosh, physically strong or weak, predestined. But the Gemara says, tzaddik v'rosha, whether you be devoutly righteous or evil, that's not predestined. Why? Everything's predestined except one's fear of heaven. That's free choice. That's not predestined. Okay? So let's say a person, the Gemara tells us in Brachos that Chizkiyahu Melech Yehuda, he had seen in his divine vision that he was going to have a child who was going to be a Rasha. And factually, because of that, he did not procreate. He became deathly ill. He was in a sick bed. Yeshaya HaNavi, Isaiah the prophet, comes to him and says to him, you will not leave the sick bed. You will die. Why? Because you did not procreate. Therefore, God says you will die. So Chizkiyahu, the king, Melech Yehuda, says to Yeshaya HaNavi, but I saw in my divine vision that the child I'm going to have is going to be a Rasha. Chizkiyahu Melech could have been Mashiach, the Gemara says, in Sanhedrin. He had the qualification to be Mashiach. He merited that Sancheriv, the Assyrians, when they came to destroy Yerushalayim and the Beis HaMikdash, with one swoop they were destroyed. Because he brought the Jews back to Torah and to mitzvahs. That's how great he was. And he's going to have a son who's going to be evil, Menashe, one of the most evil kings. So he says, how could I procreate? Knowing that that's what I'm bringing to, I'm not procreating. So Yeshaya HaNavi says to Chizkiyahu Melech Yehuda, what are you getting involved in God's secrets? That's God's business, that's not your business. You have an obligation to procreate. You have an obligation to invest in your child, your best ability. What the outcome is going to be, that's up to God. That has nothing to do with you. Therefore, so we said, if that's the case, to get the best shot of what kind of child I'm going to have, I want to marry your daughter. And he married Yeshaya's daughter. Menashe was born from the most prestigious seed. Malchus Yehuda and Kuna and a Kohen turned out to be Menashe. But again, it's not up to you. It's not up to the person. This is Hakol B'dei Shemayim Chutz Mi'Yir Shamayim. In terms of yourself, you can make choices. That pertains to yourself. You have an obligation to procreate. What that child's going to be, you have an obligation to teach your child Torah, to be the best role model. But after everything's said and done, for some reason, it doesn't work. Because the child has his own free choice. And the child chooses to go the wrong direction. The father has no liability, no culpability if he did not contribute to that failing of the son. That goes into a Hakobi Yishmaim, that's limited to yourself. Beyond that, I've done my best. More than that, a person can't do. So, very interesting. It says, Elu told us Noach. These are the chronicles of Noach, or the progeny of Noach. Kach posuk Reb Tanchum b'Barab b'Olam. There's a posuk. Pri tzadik eitz chayim. The fruit of a tzaddik is the tree of life. For lokeach nefoshos, and one who takes souls is chacham, is wise. Amr Yehuda Levi. The shosh adam istalik min olam elbanim. The person, God forbid, leaves this world without children. Never married to have children. Who meitzu bocher. He's pained and he cries, he sobs. Omer laKadosh Baruch Hu lamata bocher. The God says, why are you crying? The Meneshel Amarti Pri B'Olam, he says, I didn't involve any progeny in the world. I left behind no one. Yeshcha Pri Yofim in Abonim. So God says to this person who's wailing and sobbing because he didn't leave over any child, he says, your fruit is even more valuable, more precious than children. Omer Lefon of Ribono Shel Olam. So the person says, Eza Pri Shemarti. What fruit did I produce? Amula Kodesh Baruch Hu HaTorah. Study Torah. Shekosba Pri Tzadik Eitz Chayim. The fruit of the tzaddik is the tree of life. Eitz Chayim ben Lachazikim bo. Bon Meinoma. It doesn't say the fruit of the tzaddik are children. It doesn't say that. The pasuk says the fruit of the tzaddik is Eitz Chayim. Ela Pri Tzadik. V'chein Toldos of Shalodam. What are the chronicles and the outgrowth of a human being? Elu Ma'asim Tovim. Elu Masav HaTovim. These are his good deeds. Story at the end of Pirkei Avos of Yossi ben Kisma is walking, meets a person, ordinary person. He says to him, he says, Shalom Aleichem. Rebbe Amori, he says, Aleichem Shalom. They greet one another. He says, where are you from? He comes from a city. He tells him, if you come to our city and you want to live in our city because he's such a great Torah sage, we'll give you any amount of money. Any amount of money. So he says, I'll give you all the money in the world. I will only go to a city which has Talmidei Chachamim, Sofrim, scribes, Torah sages. I will not go to a location which is devoid of Torah. But what about, you offer me a king's ransom to go there? So he quotes the Pasuk verse. Hashem says, Li Akes Li Azov. God says, it's all mine. When you leave this world, you can't take it with you. The only thing you take from this world to the world to come is Torah and mitzvahs. Torah and Masim Tovim. Nothing else. So what are the fruits of a person? His real estate portfolio. His bank accounts. His stock. His Forbes 500 number one. Is that what he takes with him? Right? Eventually it goes into a landfill. That's where it goes into. Right? And Hashem says to this person sobbing, he left over no children. V'chein toldosu shalodem eilu masav atovim. Those are his good deeds. That's the only thing you take from this world. V'chein ome eilu toldos Noach. What are the chronicles of Noach? Noach ish tzaddik tomim. What are his accomplishments? If toldos over here means children, it should say immediately Shem Chom v'Yefes. Doesn't say that. Immediately it says, what are the toldos Noach? Ish tzaddik tomim hoyu b'dorosav. That's his accomplishments. That's his essence. But again, why? Because in terms of what your children are to be, as much as you do, and you do your best, and the person didn't fail, you can only do your best. But the actual outcome, it's up to Hashem. Did they merit the siyata d'shmaya? Don't they merit the siyata d'shmaya? That's massive tovim. interesting. The Orach Chaim HaKadosh explains Nodav and Avihu were the upcoming future leaders, Torah leaders of Klal Yisrael. They brought a strange fire on the 8th day of the inauguration of the Mishkan, when they were installed to be Kohanim. They brought an incense offering, and they were struck down by God immediately. Now, why? So this is discussion. Because they brought an Eish Zorah, this alien fire, which they weren't permitted to bring. So the question is, where did they fail? Is it because they should have consulted with Moshe? Did they drink wine? They did something wrong. Now, the Torah tells us that initially, because Aaron participated in the Chet Egel, he deserved that all his children should die. Moshe Rabbeinu prayed, and 50% of the decree was annulled. So they've only two of his best children passed away, and Aloz and Sober, they remained. They were his remaining progeny. But none of you perished. Because Aaron participated in Chet Egel. So the question is, firstly, we say, Ish b'chetu yumos. Each person dies on his own accord. What do the children have to do with the father? So that's exactly what we're saying. Because they did the wrong thing themselves. But if they did the wrong thing, so what does that have to do with Aaron? His participation in the Chet Egel, in the golden calf, he shouldn't participate whatsoever, although it wasn't idolatry. But what he did, but the participation itself caused him to be liable. So Orach Chaim HaKadosh explains, we have a principle based on a verse in Shmuel, Ragle Chasidav Yishma, that a person, for instance, Rabbeinu Bachai says, is a runner, professional runner. As much as you're careful, it's inevitable you can have a sports injury. It's impossible to avoid. Impossible. But what about if you're a chosid? Ragle Chasidav Yishma. Hashem watches that even the inevitable doesn't happen. But you have to be a chosid. Aaron was a chosid. His children failed. But if his children failed, they deserve to be put to death. So the merit of Aaron should have protected his children to have that absolute clarity. That they shouldn't make the mistake they made. Why did they make the mistake? Because Aaron deserved to have that level of pain. Because he participated in the Chet Egel. That's why he deserved that level of pain. Okay? Now, so if that's the case, if a person truly is a tzaddik or a chosid, he doesn't have special children. He doesn't have to worry about his children. Correct? Because if his children actually are not appropriate, what happens? Causes him pain. Does he deserve the pain? If he doesn't deserve the pain, God's not going to allow it to happen. But, so, Aaron, because he deserved it, he lost 2 children. So let's understand something now. In last week's parsha, it said that Noach first started to father children at the age of 500. So Rashi cites Chazal. In those years, you became an adult at the age of 100. You lived till 700, 800 years, so entering into adolescence is at the age of 100. That's what it is. So if everyone else is having children when they're beyond 100, why did Noach wait till 500? Right? Why did God allow him to procreate or to have children until the age of 500? So Rashi cites the Midrash, because God said, if he has children and they're going to be Rishoyim, they're going to be evil, so they're going to die in the great flood, they're going to perish. It's going to cause pain to Noach. And he's a tzaddik. I don't want to cause him pain. And if they're going to turn out to be devoutly righteous, he's going to have to build a teva, an ark for each one of them. I don't want to burden him with building additional arks other than the one ark that he has to build. That's the Chazal, that's the Medrash Rashi cites. Okay? So therefore, if they're less than 100 years old, when the great flood comes, even if they're evil, they don't deserve to die because they're considered like minors. If a minor sins, There's no culpability. Of course, they're considered incompetent at that time. Okay? Noach, why would they even consider him to be Rishoyim? Noach was a tzaddik. Ragli Chasidim Yishmor. If his sons are Rishon, it's not going to cause him pain. It will cause him pain. So what do you have to worry about them to be Rishoyim? Now, Chum was a bad man. Noah had 3 sons, Shem, Chum, and Yefes. Shem was the tzaddik. Yefes was the middle of the road person. Chum was a bad person. Now, the Torah tells us when he came out of the Teva, when he came out of the ark, Noah, what was the first thing he planted? A vineyard. Planted a vineyard. He took vines into the Teva, so when he came out, he planted a vineyard. And the Torah tells us he desecrated himself. He profaned himself when he drank, when he became drunk. And when he was in a drunken state, what happened? Some Chum came and castrated him and sodomized him. So there he displayed his evil. Chum. And what does he do when he realizes what happens? He curses Chum. He blesses Shem, he blesses Yefes, but he curses Chum. Eved Abodim, you should be the slave of slaves. But again, when did he become a Rasha? Even though he actually procreated, he cohabited in the ark, which he wasn't permitted. So you'd say Noach wasn't aware of that. But after he was castrated and sodomized, he was aware of that. Now why was he sodomized? Because he was drunk. And the Chazal make, before he went into the Teva, he was called Ish Elokim. He was called Ish Tzadik. The Torah depicts him as El Torah's Noach Ish Tzadik. When he planted that vineyard, he's called Ish Adama. So the Medrash says, see what happened? You go from Ish Tzadik, all of a sudden becomes a man of the earth, became a farmer. So he already failed. When he made that decision to plant that vineyard, he already was on his way out the door. Of course, it's inevitable. Why did he choose a vineyard? He could have planted cucumbers. The answer is because when he saw the world, and now he has to live with his conscience. Now, where's all humanity? Where are they? The answer is they were destroyed. But why were they destroyed? Because he failed. So what do you do? What does a person do? Drinks. But that was a failing. He's called Ish Adom. He's no longer Ish Tzaddik. So there's no longer Ragli Chasidim Yishmar. Therefore, now you'll see what kind of son you have. You're going to feel it, experience it, and you're going to know it. Through castration, being sodomized, and when you wake up, you sober up, you're going to see what kind of son you have. So what is Noach? What's the true pre-tzaddik? Your children, as I said, you can do your best. You have to be that special chosid that your child should work out okay. So you have to understand. So what about Chizkiel Melech Yehuda? What about, why do you have a Menashe? Did it cause him pain? Caused him pain, no question. Menashe was an evil man, idolatry, he did terrible things. Even though it was questioning, he did tshuva at the end. But when he was doing the wrong thing, he had tremendous pain. So maybe we would say, the Gemara says, initially God wanted that Chizkiel Melech Yehuda should be Mashiach, and Sancheiriv, who came with millions of troops to destroy Yerushalayim and the Beis Hamikdash, he should be Gog Magog. That should be the argument. Right? So what happens? The Midas Adin, the attribute of justice, comes to Hashem and says, I have a claim against Chizkiel, that he's not worthy of being Mashiach. Why? Because after such a miracle takes place, how does he not say Shira? How does he not sing the praises of God as Moshe Rabbeinu sang the Shira after the splitting of the sea closed on the Egyptians? And Armageddon over here. They were destroyed. Whoever heard of such nisim? Why did he say Shira? Could be that's why he was chosen. That's why there's no Ragli Chasidim Yishmar. You have to be that almost perfect person to be Ragli Chasidim. That Hashem should not allow that you should have any degree of failing or any degree of pain, because why do you deserve it? The answer is, he wasn't that perfect person. He was a tzaddik. He did things which very few people in the history of the world could be compared to Chizkiyahu Melech Yehuda. It says after 2.5 years that every woman and child were proficient in the laws of Tumah V'Tara. In Bered Ad Beersheba. That's the impact he had. Doesn't make a difference. We find that Hashem does for the latter generations the merit of the early generations. Right? We speak of Schus Ovos. A child that a special grandfather was a tzaddik, he reaps the fruits of that. How do we know that even a person of the early generations is able to reap the fruits of the upcoming generations? Shenema v'Noach chen nidei Hashem b'beizes schus b'schus toldosav, in the merit of his children. That he had children in their merit, he was motza chen nidei Hashem. What's for Lokeach Nefoshes Chocham? A person who takes lives in the positive is wise. A person who sustains and feeds and supports a poor man, that's Lokeach Nefoshes Chocham. That's a wise man. You know, we say Ani Choshev Kemes. Poor man who's destitute, he has nothing. He has no identity. He has nothing. So by providing the basic needs to sustain himself, that's Lokeach Nefoshes Chocham. Noach only passed away only after he saw the world settled. You know what I mean? It's like, so he comes out, he sees the world devoid of humanity. Nothing. Even the animals. How many animals were there? 2 of the non-kosher species and 7 of the kosher species. And many of them he brought as korbanos, as sacrifices. The world was empty. Endless expanses of land with vegetation, no people, no animals, no nothing. And they said, you know what? It's me. What happens? Before he passed away, the world is teeming with people, as we'll see. The world, he saw the world in its settled state. He saw 70 nations. 70 root nations who were already established in different locations throughout the world before he passed on. This was a consolation for him. That despite the fact it was destroyed, it was re-inhabited. It was recreated. Excuse me? And he says, it was only as a result of his righteousness. Because in the Teva, he went and he fed the animals, and every species had to live for a year. He had to feed them. What did he feed them? He had every conceivable species, endless numbers. Domesticated, undomesticated, reptiles, insects, birds, everything. He had to feed them all. He had to provide for all of them. They all ate the same food, devela. Pressed figs. That's what they ate. Fig logs. You will have, meaning you're all going to eat of the same fodder. You can eat the same food. When he brought in the food, every species had its own diet. And he fed every animal, every bird, every insect received its own. You know what kind of level? You know what kind of level of sacrifice that is? You know what level of wear and tear? The Gemara says he was spitting blood from being overworked, overwhelmed, being fatigued. He couldn't sleep. Ma shalomed hagobel teven hachamor sorim chen kula ma shalomed hayochel. Certain animals only eat the first hour a day. Another animal eats the second hour, another the third hour. So there was no minute of the day that he wasn't preoccupied because he had to meet all the schedules of all the different species. The 12 months Noach spent in the ark, he didn't sleep a day during the night. So this is the one he acquired the nefoshos. He acquired all this living entities. He's a wise man. So why did he merit to see the world repopulated and re-inhabited? Because of what he did in the table. He failed. But why could the world continue? Even he built the table. Even he survives. Let's say he would have been lax in the ark. Not for the animals. They would have died. So why is there a world? As the reason why there's no world is because you didn't save them, which you could have, so there's a degree of liability and culpability, but look at the other side of it. But why is there a world? Because for 12 months in the ark, Lokeach the foshos eschochem, you gave your life for them. You sacrificed at a level which is not to be understood. To what degree he sacrificed? Ramban writes, with this we're able to understand a little bit that before the great flood, human wasn't permitted to eat. We shared the same diet with the animal, only vegetation. After the great flood, Hashem says, now you're permitted to eat meat. Why? So the Sepharno explains, because as we see that the whole physiology and nature of the world changed, man no longer lived hundreds of years before, there were no longer giants, everything, seasons changed, everything changed. The human being needed meat to nourish his being. To have sufficient nourishment, you needed meat. That's the reason why Hashem permitted meat to the human being. It was a necessity. Before the Great Flood, it wasn't a necessity. Of course, their constitution didn't need it. Ramban writes, because now, when Adam originally was created the animals. But did the animals exist because Adam, it's attributed to Adam? It's not attributed to him. God created the world. Where do you have a right to kill the animal for your own need? For your own human need? But now, why do the animals exist? Why does anything exist? Because Noach, because of Noach's sacrifice during that 12-month period, no day, no night, that's why they exist. If that's the case. Now, for your need, you're permitted to kill them. That's the reason, that was the shift. After the Mabul to before the Mabul, for that reason. At the end of last week's Parsha, it says, why was he spared? Not because he was tzaddik. Because Noach motzachem be'inei Hashem. That's how the portion ends off, the portion of Bereshis. Noach motzachem be'inei Hashem. He found special favor. And the Gemara tells us in Sanhedrin that in his generation there were many tzaddikim. But when God unleashes the attribute of justice, nobody's perfect enough. Tzaddik is not sufficient. You have a spiritual flaw, Mitzvah then reigns in on the person dies. So why did Noach survive? Because he found special favor in the eyes of God. Now, what was so special? What special favor did he find in the eyes of God? If it's not mitzvahs, as the other tzaddikim, I mean, there's no who could be perfect enough. I mean, according to the Rechaim HaKadosh, which we mentioned in Joseph Brocha, Moshe is Ish Elokim. He cited the Gemara. The Gemara says that even the Avos HaKadoshim, they would not be able to withstand the scrutiny of the exactness of God's justice. And that's why David says, Al Tovu Mishpini Modi, Lo Yistav Ufonecho Kol Chai. You can't be vindicated. Well, if you're under God's gaze of justice, Chas v'Sholem, you can't survive it. So if the Avos couldn't survive it, Noach couldn't survive it either. So why was he spared? Noach Motzah Chem B'nei Hashem. But what is the Chem? What was the worthiness that he had the special favor in the eyes of Hashem? It's very interesting. We had mentioned the name of the Shalom, that there's a pasuk, the verse says, Leiv nishba v'nitke Elokim lo sivzeh. That Leiv, a broken heart, and nitke, and a smattered heart, Elokim lo sivzeh. Even the attribute of justice will not disgrace. If a person is truly broken over the wrong that he had done, devastated, even the Midas Adin will not prosecute him. Elokim is the appellation of Midas Adin. Okay? So we're talking about the Mabul, time of the Great Flood, it was Midas Adin. The Medrash cites a verse in Koheles, the words of Shlomo Melech, Elokim yivakesh es nirdof. Who favors the nirdof? If a person is pursued, Elokim, the attribute of justice even favors the nirdof, the pursued. Okay? Very important. That's why predicated on the Shalom. Even the attribute of justice will not disgrace that person, will not prosecute the person if he's truly broken and devastated. Who favors the underdog? The pursued, Elokim, even the Midas Adin, the attribute of justice. Rav Huna b'shem Rabbi Yossi Omer, Oser HaKadosh Baruch Hu l'tvoah dom shel nidofim miyad rofeim. At the end of time, God will demand the blood of those pursued by those who pursued them. Teda. Where do we see this? Shekenu Shari Hevel Nirdaf Nekayin. Hevel, first two brothers in humanity, was pursued by Cain, his brother. Kachnema v'yishma Hashem el Hevel. Therefore God heard and favored the sacrifice of Hevel. Noach Nirdaf Nedoro. Now, when Noach was told to build that ark, and he was the focal point of all existence, and his responsibility was to enter into debate, the dialogue with them, how do you think they interacted? They mocked him, they ridiculed him, they made his life unbearable. He was a nirdaf, he was pursued. When Noach Motzachim, so the Medrash says, that's why he was Motzachim. Because Elokim Yivakesh Nirdaf. That's why he's Motzachim, that's why he found special favor in the eyes of God. So we said, it's Midas Adin. The Gemara says there were many tzaddikim who perished. But who's worthy enough that you're able to withstand the scrutiny of the attribute of justice? Nobody. Not even the Ovos HaKadoshim, the holy patriarchs. But what about if you're a nirdaf? If you're pursued? Even the Midas Adin, the attribute of justice, will favor the underdog, the pursued one. And it says, why was he Motzachim B'nei Hashem? Because he was a nirdaf. That's the reason. And then it gives many examples throughout history. The ultimate nirdaf, we are pursued by the nations of the world. Anti-Semitism. We are the Keves Echod, Achas Bein Shivim Zayim. We're the scapegoat. 70 wolves wanting to devour us. And that's why we're special to God. We're special. Because we're nirdaf. Elokim. The attribute of justice. Even the attribute of justice favors us. Therefore God says, the Jewish people were eternal, regardless of how much they fail, they will always be. Because we're always in the state of nirdaf. So being a nirdaf, being pursued, Hashem allows it to be pursued because Hashem doesn't want that the attribute of justice should, God forbid, destroy us. Because if that attribute is unleashed, there's no hope. But what about if you're a nirdaf? There's always hope. Because even the attribute of justice will not prosecute. There may be casualties, plenty of pain. World War II was pain beyond. The tragedies. Do you think 6 million is enough? But Elokim Vakish Nirdaf. Even as Midas Adin, if you're pursued, Hashem will not allow Midas Adin to go beyond a certain point. Will not allow it. So we say a tzaddik is not able to withstand midas hadin. That's only if he's not a nirdaf. It's interesting. We find that before we left Egypt, the night before we left Egypt, we were told to bring the Korban Pesach, Paschal on the 14th, to put blood on the lintel and on the doorpost, and no Jew was permitted to leave his home. And God will not allow the angel of death, if you don't walk out of your house, to touch any Jew. Why? But the Jews are not culpable, right? Why would they have any level of liability? The answer is, so Rashi cites the Medrash, because when Midas Hadin is unleashed, doesn't differentiate, doesn't discern between tzaddik and Rasha. You're not perfect enough. Then, we're in a state of nirdafim. Personally, we weren't pursued that. We're on the way out. That was the beginning of the Gula. When we were eating the Korban Pesach behind closed doors, this was the onset of redemption. That's what it was. But nevertheless, God didn't even want one Jew to die. No Jew died. We're not saying you can't have casualties, but that there's always anti-Semitism. That means Jews are always nirdafim. We're always pursued. Elokim yivakish nirdaf. Even the Midas Hadin will agree you have to leave the Jew. Now, just want to end with this. It says, there are others. Moshe nirdaf made Paro. Moshe fled Egypt, right? Because he killed the Egyptian. He was a fugitive. Moshe was a nirdaf. It says, Lulei Moshe Bechiro. You know, when Moshe was the Bechir, was the chosen, the favorite of God, and when he prayed to annul the decree to destroy the Jews after Chet Egel, why did Hashem value his tefillah? Because he was a nirdaf from Paro. You understand? It was the greatest bracha in his life. That he fled at the age of 18 from Egypt and didn't return until he was nearly 80 years old. He lived all by himself in Midian. He lived in Gehenna. What was the value of that Gehenna? Why did God listen to a supplication to annul the decree that they shouldn't be destroyed? He's Bechiro because he was nirdaf mei Paro. Because he was pursued by Paro. So, how do we understand it? Is it that God always favors the underdog? The Midas Hadin feel bad for the underdog. So, the way, seemingly, it has to be understood that what's a nirdaf? What's a person's pursuit? A person's pursuit means the person comes to realization he has no route of escape. He's left every stone turned. No stone was left unturned. And he realizes he has nowhere to turn. When a human being reaches that point, he understands he only has one to rely on, only Hashem. When a person comes to that realization, the level of connection to Hashem is so special, Hashem will favor that person. Because of that realization the person's come to. The person says, Baruch Hashem, I have a terrific doctor. Thank God I have a cushion, a financial cushion for retirement. What does that do with that? What does it do with the cushion, a doctor, or anything else? Thank God I have good genes. That's why I'm healthy at the age of 100. What has to do with good genes? Hashem wants you to live. Has nothing to do but good God. So when does a person realize it's him and nobody else? When a person's put in a position where there's no route of escape, you've exhausted every conceivable possibility to save your life, and you say, Hashem, it's you, there's no one else but you. Then, even the Midas Hadin will agree to be on your side and to help you out. And therefore, Moshe Rabbeinu was special because he was in that position. He was a fugitive, he had nowhere to turn. He had to flee, leave everything behind. His parents, his people, everything. And the way it was explained, why did he not, none of them, doesn't have made his life miserable for years in the desert until he went down with Korach into the grave. What he tolerated. What did he put up with them? Now, who informed on it? Doesn't Aviram. What level of debt of gratitude did Moshe have to doesn't Aviram? Tremendous. The only reason why there's a Jewish people is because Moshe is special. But why is he special? Because he was pursued. And who caused him to be pursued? Doesn't Aviram. He says, you know, I'll put up with these characters. When Hashem wants to take him out, that's Hashem's business. And he took him out with what? With Adas Korach. Earth opened its mouth, swallowed him up, it ended with air. But until then, he was willing to go through anything to put up with their nonsense.